Hello, BookTube. As some of you may have noticed, Matthew at Mayberry Book Club and I have turned the name of his BookTube channel into a reality. We've made a little book club of the two of us reading books together over the course of the last few months. And we just finished up our June Mayberry Book Club, which was Homer's Iliad in the Robert Fitzgerald translation. And we naturally thought that we would go right on to our July read-along, only I chose that moment to become a foot-stamping, head-swapping diva. And everything that Matthew suggested, I just said, no, 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 no. I don't know why. He suggested a lot of fun stuff, and I turned it all down, and none of it was what I actually felt like. And part of the reason for that was held over from an earlier read-along that we did. A couple of months ago, we did a month-long read-along of Frank Miller's iconic Batman story, Batman Dark Knight Returns. The story of an older and embittered Batman in a very much changed dystopian world who comes out of retirement and everything that follows from there. Batman Dark Knight Returns is iconic. It is widely regarded as, among comic fans, as one of the most iconic graphic novels of all time. But Matthew is not a lifelong diehard comic book reader. He's not grown up on the continuity, not anything like that. And also, there is an instructive but difficult distinction to be made between something being iconic and something being good. And more than ever now, I see that Batman Dark Knight Returns is the one but not the other. Matthew and I went through the graphic novel. It originally came out in 4 issues, so we went through it 1 issue a week. And both of us saw a great many drawbacks. Only for me, the drawbacks happened in the larger context of the renown of the book. For Matthew, it was just a disappointment. And when it was over, I felt like I owed him one, and not to pick a really fun book out of the whole of all the books that have been published, but that I really owed him a good graphic novel experience, and even, if possible, a good Batman graphic novel experience. And of course, those of you who are comic book fans will know there is such a thing. There is such a thing. Such a thing that is not nearly so refractionary and crackpot as the philosophical underpinnings of Batman Dark Knight Returns. And that's what we're going to be reading in July. We're going to be reading that graphic novel, which Matthew had to go to his comic shop and get from the surly help. It is, oddly enough, also written by Frank Miller, the author of Batman Dark Knight Returns. It's drawn by David Mazzucchelli, and it is Batman Year One. Also originally issued as 4 issues, so perfectly lends itself to a month-long read-along. So that's what we're going to do for the month of July. Matthew and I are going to read Batman Year One, which came together in 1987. So Frank Miller doesn't do the artwork. Instead, the art was done by a very different kind of artist, David Mazzucchelli, who does a fantastic job. Miller and Mazzucchelli had previously teamed up on a graphic novel, again, a series of issues that became a graphic novel called Daredevil Born Again, that is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Revelatory. Here they're doing it for Batman. And as the title implies, this is the very beginning of Batman. Difficult to call it an origin story if you're going to take, for instance, Miller's own Batman Dark Knight Returns as gospel, in which case we see, as we saw in our read-along, that young Bruce Wayne is contacted or influenced or infected by a giant spirit warrior bat in the Batcave, in what will become the Batcave long before his parents are shot. The nominal propulsive unit that makes him into Batman. So it's difficult to call Batman Year One an origin story, but it is the beginning of Batman. It is the first time that Bruce Wayne puts on the cape and cowl. And it takes place in 4 issues, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything to say that if you are a newcomer to comic books, it's going to please you a lot more than Batman Dark Knight Returns. You can never predict what a buddy reader will do. I think that's some of the fun of a buddy read, is that I'm reading it with Matthew in mind, which is so much fun. You can never predict 100% certainly what such a person will think, but I feel fairly certain that he is going to love this in a way that he absolutely did not love Batman Dark Knight Returns. I'm not knocking Batman Dark Knight Returns. It's a legend, and legends make their own rules. But this is also, in addition to being legendary, a story. And I have a feeling that Matthew will like it, and so will you if you want to join in. As easy as it was for Matthew to go to his local Android's dungeon and ask the surly clerk, do you have Batman Year One, and have them say yes and get it for you so that you can buy it that day, so too it will be easy for you to do. It sells like hotcakes even now. It is a staple thing in comic book stores. So if you want to join in, or if you have a molding old copy on the shelf, as I suspect that Michael Kropotkin Vaughn does, Michael K. Vaughn joined us sort of informally for Batman Dark Knight Returns, and I don't think the question here for Batman Year One is, will he join us informally for this read-along? I think the question is, how many seconds will it take him to join us for this read-along? It's just too much fun to be going through this with people who've already read it, and especially someone like Matthew who hasn't read it, who's encountering all this for the first time. It's going to be tremendous fun for the month of July. The dog days of July, what looks like it's now going to be a sulfurously hot month here in the United States. So that's what we're going to be doing. Batman Year One for the month of July. There are plenty of new people watching this channel, so any new people who might be inclined to raise an objection, to say, what? You're going from the Iliad, you've read Brideshead Revisited, but now you're going to read a comic book? To any such people who aren't familiar with the snappy patter on this channel, I will repeat very kindly, very gently, the same sentence that I have been repeating for pretty much all of my 28 years, which is, your literary snobbery is not my problem. Okay? It's actually your problem. Whether you acknowledge it as such or not, whether you ever correct it or not, it is actually your problem, not mine. But I don't think that's much of a concern on this channel. So that's what we're going to be doing for next week. For our very first read-along in July, for the Mayberry Book Club, we're going to be doing the first issue, so the first chapter of Batman Year One, and we will see what we will see. We will see what Matthew makes of it. I haven't reread Batman Year One in quite some time, so it's going to be a lot of fun to do that. It's going to be a lot of fun to go at it with relatively fresh eyes. So that's your announcement video. We are done with the Iliad. We are moving on to Batman Year One, and then we'll see about August. Our read-along of the Iliad in June was largely spurred by the fact that I reread the Iliad every June. And I also reread the Odyssey every August. I'm going to do that anyway, but maybe Matthew would want to pick something else. Lord knows there's plenty to choose from, provided I'm not being a foot-stomping diva, as I was this time. It looked pretty bad for a while there. It looked like we weren't going to be, like Matthew wasn't going to be able to present me with anything that wouldn't cause him to just knock it out of his hand. Go peel me a grape. But he persevered. It's the nicest guy in the world, and we have settled on our magnum opus for July. So I hope you'll join us. Batman Year One, for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with comic books and joined us for Batman Dark Knight Returns and were repulsed, thought, okay, this was very good in the first issue, started to fall apart in the second issue, fell apart completely in the third and fourth issue, and left me totally unsatisfied. If you are not familiar with comics and that was one of your first encounters and you did it because we were doing a read-along, and you're thinking, well, that's enough of that then, I don't need to bother. I know Steve likes these things, but I'm not going to try another one. Try another one. Try this one and see what you think. I bet this will recover some lost ground. But we will talk all about it next week, so I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.